This is Beyond a Reasonable Doubt with your hosts, Mark Garrigus and Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get on the church. Get on. Welcome to the best or the fastest 15 minutes in the universe. It's Beyond a Reasonable Doubt. I'm Adam Carolla. Mark Garrigus in his home office. What's on your mind, Mark?
Well, I'll tell you, quite a day today, but as long as we're talking trials, that's what we do at Reasonable Doubt. How could we not start off with the cross-examination of Amber Heard? And by the way, I hope Gary's going to get mad at me if he doesn't, but I hope he has her explanation for the poop in the bed, because it's pretty good.
I have it. I know what it is.
You have it?
Well, it's actually, I think you would approve, because she basically... She said, well, when the dog was a pup, he got into Johnny's weed. So you're there to defend yourself for possibly pooping on the bed, but you basically just said, my puppy got into Johnny Depp's drug stash, right? So she said he got into the weed that screwed up his bowels, and he's always had difficulty from that day forth. That was her.
Right, because see, it was either Boo or Bo. I forget the name of the dog, but it's a Yorkie who kind of likes to burrow. Boo, the dog, the Yorkie, likes to burrow into the bed, and then apparently has, and appropriately, bowel starts with a B-O, the Bo or Boo, apparently has bowel trouble on top of it, and that's why. The reason that when I first got married to Paulette, I gave her a little Shih Tzu. And
that should have been the breed of the dog. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And that Shih Tzu used to get very upset with me vis-a-vis Paulette, and used to go over and pee on my side of the bed. But this is kind of a reversal. Instead of peeing, it's shitting on the bed, and it's a Yorkie, not a Shih Tzu.
Yeah, it's an interesting time we're living in, because half our attention is on war atrocities in Ukraine, and the other half is whether the Yorkie shat up the bed or not for the two multimillionaire celebrities. So we really have a lot of range in terms of our attention span and a society. And we're equally as interested in both trials or both situations. I would say probably if you would have got hold of us 5 weeks ago, we would have been a little more into the Ukraine, but now we're kind of now
we're deep. We're deep in the defecation. I mean, I have actually seen and talked with people today who are talking about whether it's human defecation or dog defecation. They're trying to identify the poop and poopology. It's quite a level of scrutiny we've reached.
Well, she seemed pretty earnest when she was up on the stand, and she just went, I would never do that. That's weird. Or, she kind of gave a very female approach to it, which is, that's gross. I wouldn't do it. I don't know. What did you think of her?
Look, I know it's a very unpopular opinion, because I think when you were joking the other day, maybe you were joking about whacking together 8 minutes of her and showing it to Sonny as kind of, a father's, besides the fact that your belt leather matches your shoe leather and teach your son how to drive a stick, that the third thing you need to teach your son is whack together 8 minutes of Amber. I thought she did well, and I thought that Johnny Depp's lawyer had some great points, but I thought that the delivery and kind of the tone kind of subtracted from it, for my taste.
So you're able to, you're able to sort of sit there from a technical standpoint and almost read the transcript of the lawyer and go, that's a good point, just not delivered correctly, sort of like what I would do with jokes. Like I'd go, that is a funny joke, but you screwed up the way you said it. It didn't land the way it could have.
Exactly right. I mean, there is a momentum, there's a pacing, there's a cadence, if you will, to a cross-examination. There was a DA who's now a judge. I won't name him, but maybe I will next time. I'll get his permission. But we tried a case many, many years ago, and he was the one. I kind of had a fairly effective cross-examination, and his comment is it's like riding a wave. Sometimes when you catch a wave, you never know when it's coming, but you get it, and you get that momentum. Trials have momentum. Trials, witnesses can get lost, so to speak, and a trial lawyer knows when to grab them and when to kind of ride that momentum for the jury. And if you've got a good point, rather than be satisfied, remember your audience is the jury. It's not somebody behind you. It's not I know a lot of times that people do it for their client, but you're trying to convey the message and get the information to the jury. And sometimes if you inject too much of yourself in, that takes away from it. And other times, if you don't kind of point out to the jury how ridiculous or absurd the witness is being, you can lose your point.
So when does this thing wrap, and what do you think?
I think she's done with the cross today as we record this. And so there's, at this point, from our standpoint, you would think it's all over but the shouting, but they're still estimating another 2 weeks. I mean, they've got probably going to wrestle over jury instructions, and then there'll be summations or closings, and then jury deliberations. So I can see this thing going through Memorial Day.
Jesus Christ. And what about the Durham?
Well, remember, this is kind of a throwback to the pre-Trump era, where every May you would start off with some supersized celebrity style or infamous trial. This is kind of a throwback to that summer of trials that we used to always have. That used to be the axis of evil, as I talked about in the cables. But the other one that is not televised, but which is fascinating. And I was telling Gary that I think you will be, jury selection was, or at least we were able to discern the jurors today, is the first prosecution out of the special prosecutor against Mr. Sussman, who was a partner of Mark Elias and is in Washington, D.C. And this is a case where traditionally the prosecution and the feds especially have always got the upper hand. I mean, the conviction and plea guilty rate hovers in the high 90s also. But this is one where the theme is, if you will, that this lawyer was a Democratic operative and started this feeding information to the FBI for a political purpose. Well, that's all well and good, except you're trying this case in a district where it's overwhelmingly, maybe in the high 90s also, percentage-wise, of Democrats, and rapidly so. In fact, to the point where the prosecutor, Gary, do you ever name?
I will in a moment, yeah.
He's being accused of going to the FBI, being employed or contracted by the Hillary Clinton campaign, but he went to the FBI as sort of a, hey, I got this information, not I'm working with the Clinton campaign, just I have this information about the Steele dossier or about Russian collusion. And so he didn't represent himself correctly. Is that correct?
Yeah, he had two different paymasters, so to speak, one being the campaign, the other being another client. And the theory is that, and it was in stark contrast during the openings. In the openings, the government was saying, basically, and I was looking for the prosecutor's name.
Deborah Shaw.
Deborah Shaw, there you go. Deborah cast this in terms of whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, and she recognizes that you've got a predominantly
I can give you the quote.
Yeah.
Quote, whether we are Democrats or Republicans, whether we hate Donald Trump or we love him, we have to agree that some things are above politics. One of those things is our law enforcement, and another is the truth.
All right. So she's kind of preparing for this.
Yeah. And when we go through and do a quick summary of the jurors, you'll understand why. On the other hand, you have the defense, and the defense position is, no, this guy was doing what he thought he should do. He stumbled across this information during his representation. I don't think they're ever going to deny that, but they didn't think, or Michael or Mr. Sussman didn't think it was something that he had to bring to their attention. He was trying to do his civic duty, basically. And the last prominent lawyer who was tried in that, I believe in that same district, was Greg Craig, former White House counsel in the not one, but two Democratic administrations, who was prosecuted during the Trump era, and he was acquitted. So when you're picking a jury, I would think, if you're the government, you're looking for anybody who's either disenchanted or does not have a really strong Democratic connection, or a Hillary Clinton or a kind of an anti-Trump lean, wouldn't you?
Well, I would, because the people that are very anti-Trump, these rules and regulations and the Constitution and everything, they all take a back seat. And rightfully so, if you think he's Hitlerian, you know what I mean? So, if you believe that Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama or anyone, if you really think that this person is, totalitarian dictator and possibly Hitlerian and a strong man, then it's almost your job to sort of be the French resistance at that point. And I think we saw that already. I mean, we saw it with Twitter. We saw it with the New York Times. We saw it with everyone who shut down the New York Post story about Hunter Biden's laptop. They understood what was going on. They looked at it as their duty that sort of transcended the news, or transcended Democrat or Republican, or transcended the law or the FBI or the CIA. Like, this guy is dangerous. I'm a citizen, and it's our duty to try to get this guy out. So I think you will say and do just about anything based on that, if that's what you believe. Now, if you are a little more, I don't like some of his tweets, but some of his policy wasn't bad, then you can follow the law.
Well, in the instructions, I mean, Gary, just give us a sampling of some of these jurors.
Okay, let's see here. We'll start right at the top. It says number 1113, older African-American woman in her 60s or 70s who works at the Library of Congress, says it's an honor and a privilege to perform her service as a juror. She gets her news from Facebook, Instagram, and TV. She served on a jury 4 times and doesn't remember if the cases were criminal or civil. Next one is number 528, middle-aged married...
I'll tell you right now, normally that woman would be a pro-prosecution juror. You are somebody who's been on 4 juries, doesn't really remember whether they are criminal or civil, works for the government or the Library of Congress. That would be somebody that the prosecution would normally want. In this case, I don't think so.
Next is number 528, a middle-aged married white male with at least 1 child. Father is a retired real estate attorney. He works in international public policy at Amazon. Concerned they'll be pissed he's a juror. Donated to Hillary Rodham Clinton's campaign. Strong opinions about the 2016 election. Judge denied plaintiff objection to juror.
Yeah, that's one the government doesn't want anything to do with, right? Can you understand why, Adam?
Yeah, he contributed to the Hillary Clinton campaign and beyond. So it's going to be interesting. So it's always won and lost in jury selection, as you always say. It's kind of interesting because the kinds of, when you're doing a criminal trial, you have a composite of, older women of color are very pro-law and they're against the criminals, so we want them, and Asians go this way and mothers go that way. And so you try to essentially win it during jury selection, but it's kind of interesting in that you're in an area that's 90% Democrat, so you can't really go based on age or color of the skin, or are you a parent, a father, a mother? Some of this stuff some of the markers that you use, your alchemy for picking out good jurors for good trials. This one's going to be considerably harder. Can you argue for a change of venue based on that ratio?
Well, I've seen change of venue motions based upon that. I haven't seen them successfully done, but I have seen that done in the past. And I imagine that if there's any other indictments that come down in the next year, 2 years in the district of Republicans, that the Republicans are going to be arguing for a change of venue. Here, the person who would be arguing for a change of venue, which is normally the defense would never want that. This is a classic case where it's the defense's case to lose. I really, and that's a rare thing to say in federal criminal court. But the defense has got the leg up here because of the venue that this is being tried in. The prosecution knows that, given the statement in the opening that, this should be above politics. Nothing is above politics when it comes to the criminal justice system. Maybe theoretically you'd like it to be, and that's what was being suggested by Ms. Shaw, but that's never the case.
Well, that's the end of our 15 and a half minutes, but the big show is going to air this Thursday, so stay tuned for that. You can go to adamcarolla.com for all the live shows. What do you got, Mark?
We're go on down to 10E or Engine Company 28, both downtown at the airport. Go stop by Gigi's in Palm Springs, or opening this weekend night at the Capri Hotel in Southampton.
And let's not forget Mark's new batting cage opening up in Sherman Oaks called Hard Out. Come on. All right, brother.
You laugh. I may be in Lackawanna coming soon.
We'll talk soon. Until next time, Adam Carolla for Mark Garagos saying mahalo.
Thanks for listening to Beyond a Reasonable Doubt. Stay tuned for more bonus episodes coming soon.